Testing, testing. One, two, three.
6:02. Welcome, everyone, to today's council meeting. It's 6:02, meeting for September 26, 2023, City of Pico, Rivera. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to our agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
Very good. And if we can proceed with roll call, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Commissioner Garcia. Councilmember Commissioner Camacho.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Lara.
Here.
Mayor President Lutz.
Here. Very good, and we're going to start off with the invocation. Invocation is going to be provided to us by our Veterans Commissioner, Gil Perez, and followed by our flag salute by Parks and Recreation Commissioner Kim Garcia. If we can all stand.
Gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as I had mentioned earlier, I want to thank our commissioners in attendance, Veterans Commissioner Chair Gil Perez, and our Parks and Recreation Commissioner Kimberly Garcia. And now moving on to our special presentation. Our special presentation is provided by Rio Hondo College, and we have our president as well as a trustee, and our president Marilyn Flores and trustee Vicky Santana. I understand that you have a presentation that is, a good 5 minutes?
Yes.
Excellent. You may proceed.
We'll be open for questions. Good evening, Mayor Lutz and members of the council. It is a great pleasure to be here tonight and to present the latest and greatest of what we're doing at Rio Hondo College, which I'm very proud of. I'd like to introduce our board members, my fellow colleagues, Cristo Orozco, the president of the board, Anais Medina Diaz, vice president of the board, Oscar Valladares, our clerk, and Rosaelva Lomelí, a member of the board as well, and our wonderful student trustee, Alejandra Zuniga, who represents our students very well. So I am very grateful and honored to represent the Pico Rivera community since I've been elected in November of 2011. I can't believe it's been that long. And I'm delighted that Rio Hondo College continues to have a positive relationship with the city of Pico Rivera and continues to offer courses across the street at the Rio Hondo Center of Pico Rivera. I'm pleased that so many of our residents have attended Rio Hondo College, and some have completed degrees like Dr. Monica Sanchez, and I just met one of your city planning commissioners, Yarisma Rocha, who also graduated from Rio Hondo College, and we hope that many more residents of Pico Rivera would continue to attend our college. One thing that we learned is that Pico Rivera residents have a lot of persistence. They attend college. And so it's our job to make sure that they complete their educational goals, and that's something that we're very pleased to do. One of the things that I am most proud of and what we've been doing recently is that we're looking at our students as a whole. Our students have a lot of basic needs. And that wasn't necessarily the case when I first got elected in 2011, but has definitely become more of an issue. And Dr. Flores, our superintendent president, will provide more details of what we're doing. But I just want to share a little story. Our current student body president, Cal Al, was homeless in the city of Pico Rivera. He lived behind the Target in his car. And one thing that he has taken advantage of is our partnership with Whittier College, where we send our students to live in their dorms, and they get to eat with the students. And he talks about it so openly, about how that opportunity has changed his life, and that it's given him a secure place where he could just close the door and study and focus, and have a safe place to put his head down at night, and a safe place and quiet place to study. So those are things that we're going to continue to do, and Dr. Flores will mention more of that. So as you will see in tonight's presentation, Dr. Flores's work has had a positive impact on college operations and our work in the community. I am so glad that you will have an opportunity to hear from Dr. Flores and learn a little bit more about her background and her insights. If the City of Pico Rivera ever hosts events to which city officials would like to invite the college representatives, including me, please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Flores and her team. Thank you very much. I now turn the presentation over to Superintendent President Dr. Marilyn Flores. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us here today. Briefly, just a little bit who I am and my background, just so that you know, I am a first-generation college student, a second language learner. My first language was Spanish, and I am the youngest of three raised by a single mother. My mother went to third grade, and my father went to sixth grade, and unfortunately, he passed away early on, so I was raised by a single mother. I say that story because I stand before you, as was already mentioned, with a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD. And how I navigated through that was just by following, learning from others, and asking questions. It's something that I instill. I entered the educational field. My first job was a fifth grade bilingual teacher. So I have a K-12 background, which I'm really proud of. And I raised through the ranks and didn't even know what a community college was until after I started working for them through a federal grant. So after I obtained my teaching credential from UCLA, go Bruins, I have to say that, I went into a PhD program and learned about the community college, and that's where I fell in love. I fell in love with what the community college stands for, specifically because of some of the things that Trustee Santana has shared. The fact that we're so entrenched within our community, the fact that we're there, we're holistic. And I wish I would have gone to a community college. I wasn't aware of a community college system as a first-gen student. And in hindsight, my own children both go to community colleges. I tell them, you're not going anywhere but a community college unless you have a full ride. And so they're following that path, and that's how much I believe in the system. So that's just a little bit about who I am and my background and my experience, and something that I'm proud of because I believe it reflects a lot of our students and their experiences. So briefly, in the first year that I was here at Rio Hondo College, I want to just give you some highlights. We did submit a student housing grant application, which the board approved in May 31st, 2023. But what was really profound about this was that the board provided $8.4 million general fund dollars for matching to make us more competitive. We're keeping our fingers crossed. If that is something that comes to flourish, we'll be able to provide more than 200 beds for unhoused students that are affordable on campus. We established a campus police and safety department with a guardian mentality. That is something that we will be flying a position for a chief of police. Right now, unfortunately, we have just a traditional contracted security, and it's something that we want to make sure that we bring onto Rio Hondo College to be able to support and ensure that our campus is safe, but also that we use that mentality of a guardian mentality. We continue progress on the L Tower Phase 2 and the Ray Theater renovation. These are the last of the bond dollars that were originally approved a while back, and we're really excited about those buildings coming on board. We've gone through an entire rebranding for the college that's in progress right now, so you'll see that's kind of our new logo up there. It's the mountains, so that what the students always talk about, and the Rio that's on there. And before it used to be like the chevron, people call it the chevron. I know some people are holding near and dear to that, but this is something that we vetted with our students. And we did bring you some swag in the back in your offices, I understand. So we have a little water flask for you with the new logo, so you'll promote Rio Hondo for us as well. We've held multiple trainings and workshops on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, as well as anti-racism across the college. And these are campus-wide because we believe it is the work of all employees at the college to ensure that we are practicing equitable practices. We've engaged in community events. This first year that I was there, I met with every single K-12 superintendent in our district boundaries, which I did not realize how many there were. But it was a wonderful opportunity for us to become more, re-engage ourselves basically with the community, our K-12 partners. And as a result of that, we're doing a lot of follow-up with providing non-credit, credit courses, dual enrollment courses to our community centers, and I'll share some with specifically in this area. And then, of course, we continue to offer more than, as a reminder, 144 certificates, 68 associates, and 31 associate's degree for transfer with our guaranteed for transferred. And we're one of the first and few California community colleges that offers a bachelor's degree currently in automotive technology. We do have an application in the system with the State Chancellor's Office for digital music. It has a longer title, but I'm calling it digital music. As you know, the industry has changed, so we're hoping we get that approved. You can imagine the impact that has on our community when we're able to offer an affordable bachelor's degree. You do have a little program with our new branding up there, and you see on the back side the amounts of degrees and certificates that we offer. We're really proud of being able to offer and make a contribution to our essential workforce. As you know, we offer nursing, our police academy, our fire academy, as well as other essential workforce, and are a leader in transfer. So we believe in what we do and in our mission. And then I wanted to just share with you some of the most recent educational opportunities that we currently offer at the Educational Center at Pico Rivera. So this fall 2023, we're offering 12 courses at the Pico Center, 10 of which are in general education. So these are college classes at the Pico Center that are open to everybody, whether dual enrolled, reentry students, older students, younger students. Just to give you an idea, this fall we're offering child development, Chicano studies, speech, counseling, English, advanced composition, history, psychology, sociology, political science, and math stats courses. That's just this fall semester, all of which are transferable general education courses. In addition to that, we have 2 dual enrollment classes that we're offering this fall at El Rancho High School, right across the street. Again, the college is present in the community. Right now, we're offering a counseling class, a 3-unit career exploration class, as well as what they requested, which is the Introduction to Automotive Technology. In the spring, they've requested for us to offer the entry level for our administrative justice program. So we continue to garner those relationships to make sure that we're bringing the college to the community, as well as having the community at our college. We also do offer a series of non-credit courses at the Pico Center. These are, as you know, free transcripted courses for older adults or reentry students, and the focus right now is business, computer, and ESL courses. And what you'll see there too is we just graduated a class in March of 2023, and this is through a partnership with the county, and it's Careers for a Cause. We're really proud that we did graduate the first cohort. Just so that you know, it's an 8-week employment training program for those that have lived experience with homelessness or the justice system. They're able to, basically, it's an 8-week program. They earn $300 a week stipend. They're provided a laptop. They have a case management, and then they're guaranteed a job placement in the homeless or social services industry. So we've graduated the first class. They're all working right now. And now we're waiting for the partnership again to reengage with the county to provide the funding for this program. So we're really excited about being able to bring that program to you. So that's just a little bit about what we're doing here in Pico. And then last but actually 2 more slides. The other one is that we want to also recognize Pico for their support of the Go Rio. As you know, Go Rio gives our students the U-Pass, and the U-Pass provides our students with access to transportation. And you'll see there in the tiny little picture, right now we added 5 new transfer partners for a total of 11 transportation agencies where students can access transportation to work, to school, to leisure events, and it's free to them with their student fee. In addition to that, the city of Pico Rivera has provided an additional $2,000 a year that helps us to support the program. So we want to thank you for that, and that's been going on for 15 years. As well as being able to connect the residents with our regional transfer partners. And then a shout out and a thank you to Mayor Eric Lutz. Thank you for presenting the proclamation and recognizing Rio Hondo at this last event that we had on our 60th birthday. And then also would like to thank Councilmember Dr. Monica Sanchez, who also is currently serving right now on our Rio Hondo College Foundation Board and also being part of our alumni video. So if you haven't seen that yet, it is an alumni video that we use on our social platforms and really encourage others to see somebody from their community and a success story. And we also recently have nominated her for the California Community College League Alumni of the Year, and we hope that she's selected. If she is, she will be awarded in November. And so that concludes my report. Hopefully I was within the 5 minutes, and we're open to any questions.
Well, thank you, President Flores, and thank you, Trustee Santana. That was every reason to go to college and no reason not to go. And to facilitate with the satellite campus, I think it's great, and all the opportunities that you offer, even those that actually are don't have an actual residence, they can reside at the Rio Hondo College.
What's your transfer rate to four-year universities, and how does that compare to some of the past years of your transfers? So are we seeing an increase or decrease with transfers, and how does that compare to some of the other community colleges in the area? I know typically Santa Monica Community College was typically held
They're
as the
like number
benchmark,
one,
right?
yeah.
How do you compare to them?
We're, in the high 70s, 80s, pre-pandemic it was higher, post-pandemic we're sort of trying to recover. Santa Monica is the one that's known, for the highest. But we do have a lot of transfer guarantee. We have a flourishing honors program. We have transfer articulation agreements that we have with like UCLA and others. So we're creeping up there. We're getting the 78s, 80%. And so that is a bulk of our students that do transfer. So we're very competitive in that sense. And we do continue to have agreements with like UCI. We have a summer program that we take them out there to encourage transfer as well.
That was going to be my follow-up question. If you still have transfer days, it's been some decades since I've been on a community college campus, but I just remember it's such a value, especially in today's market, right? It's such a value in terms of financially and the education you get and being able to transfer those credits onto a four-year university. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. What are the more popular degrees or certificates at the college?
We have a lot of students that do major in business administration. That seems to be a flourishing area. We're onboarding a lot of the cybersecurity programs. We're impacted with our nursing program. Unfortunately, I think all of California community colleges are impacted in nursing, in that we're having to turn students away because of limitations on the student to faculty ratios because of accreditation. I would say something that we are very proud of is that we offer a variety of transfer programs, but also, again, really making an impact on our essential workforce. You probably know about our TESLA certification program. That's high in demand. And it's wonderful to see when we graduate that this last year we had about 15 students and female students that were graduating with a bachelor's degree in automotive technology. And we recently received a grant from National Science Foundation to increase our women in automotive technology. So it's all, it's a little bit of everywhere. We have a strong teacher pathway that we're working with our K-12s. We know that there's a shortage of teachers, and we're focusing specifically on those in science and mathematics because that's where the shortage is. So, to say the top, it's really difficult because we're impacted right now in areas that, it's a good place to be, that we're growing.
Anybody?
So when she says impacted, it's a good thing. That means that we have more students than slots for them, and that the nursing program is one of our flagship programs, as you know. And every college, every hospital in the area has Rio Hondo graduates, and our fire academy and our police academy train the region's first responders as well.
Yeah, and I think that I mentioned the TESLA program, nursing program, fire department, or fire academy and police academy, all good programs. Do you know how many students are from Pico Rivera in these programs? And do you know how many students from Pico Rivera are enrolled at Rio Hondo College?
We could pull that data. We have data by zip codes, and so that's something that we can pull up if you want us to forward that to you.
Just
Yeah,
curious.
it's
how
by
many-
zip codes, and
yeah.
so we have all of that data to know, where our students are coming from.
It'd be nice to know what the entire student population is and where they're coming from, as it
Yeah,
relates
we
to,
could do
well, for us, it relates to Pico Rivera, right?
And if I can add on the TESLA program, we have a partnership with our Rancho High School to make sure that we're also recruiting from the high school for our TESLA program, because the TESLA program has guaranteed employment.
Yeah.
And we also have a bachelor's of science degree in automotive technology. technology. So we want to continue the pipeline. If they start in automotive technology here and in El Rancho, that they continue at Rio Hondo.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, Trustee Santana, for being here in presentation, and of course, Russell over there that are government relations, but also a trustee himself. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for coming in today. I'm sure I can read through your PowerPoint. Thanks for coming in, and I want to say, go Rio. I'm a proud alumna, as you know, and also a board member on the foundation. So proud to have you here. Thank you for the update.
I too want to thank you for the comprehensive presentation. If somebody was interested in any of the programs, can you walk in? Do you have to make an appointment across the street?
I used to joke around and say that people say, what the requirements? I say, if you have a pulse, you're in. And so really, you have to be willing to, like we say, the ganas to go. We're an open access institution. We don't have entry requirements except in our programs like police and fire that have certain eligibility requirements. But other than that, you can register and enroll. Ideally, we always want to make sure that you see a counselor so that we can put you on the correct pathway. But we're an open access institution. So it's just a matter of being able to register and enroll. And we have multiple terms. We have your traditional fall, spring term, but we also have intersession now that we've added in the winter and intersession in the summer. And so, again, we're an open access institution and we welcome everyone at Rio.
And finally, I just wanted to share with you on the swag bag, somebody wrote USC on mine. I don't know why.
It was not me. I can guarantee you that. It was probably Russell, yeah. And the other is that we still have the 2 years for free tuition. I just told you that I have both of my children going to a community college for that very reason. If they're a first-time college student, we do the first 2 years free of tuition, which is huge.
So what sort of mitigation strategies are being used in regards to textbooks, right? Because from my understanding, the textbook department is the financial driver for a lot of these community colleges. That's where you're going to turn a great profit. But it's typically at the backs of students, right? Every year it's a new science book, despite the fact that, it's typically not needed. What is Rio Hondo doing to try to offset some of that?
So 2 efforts. One is we are part of the ZTC, which is zero cost textbook program. We actually have a grant that we're participating with this Chancellor's Office. So we have a group of faculty that are looking into creating their own materials, and it's a consortium. So it's a consortium of creating materials so that students have zero cost. The second one is OER, which is Open Educational Resources. Similar to that, it's a no-cost to low-cost textbook repository as well. And so we're very much engaged in those conversations. We have a lot of fabulous faculty that are working with the State Chancellor's Office. It's a statewide effort. Some, I say, are a little bit more ahead and willing. I would say Rio Hondo is one of those that it's ahead and willing. I've worked at other institutions where, unfortunately, you have a faculty member who co-authors the book and, wants you to pick that book for who knows what reasons. But at Rio, I can tell you that we have a good amount of faculty that are part of the zero to no cost textbook program with the State Chancellor's Office and are also working in teams to come up with zero to low cost. One of the nice things is when you're searching for courses at Rio Hondo College, we put those into the search. So if you're saying, I want to try to find a course that has a zero cost to the textbook, you can filter it. You can also filter it for the low cost textbooks. There's still some programs like nursing. I was looking at those today. Sometimes the nursing textbooks are more than the tuition itself. But that's something that, we're still trying to work on because that's the nature of the field. And so we do work closely. Luckily, I have an amazing department over there that continues to apply for grants, Song Brown grants you might have heard of, and we were able to pass those dollars to the students so they don't have to buy the textbooks.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And I did want to highlight that the top transfer institutions from Rio Hondo College are UC Irvine, UCLA, UC Riverside, Cal State LA, Pomona, and Long Beach. A great stepping stone.
You saw UCLA, right?
I did. Thank you, President Superintendent Flores, and thank you, Board Trustee Santana. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
For today, we do not have any public hearings. We'll move forward to the public comments. We do have one public comment, that is Ms. Talbot, Lauren Talbot from the LA County Public Libraries. And Ms. Talbot, you have the microphone. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Lauren Talbot, and I'm the Community Library Manager at Pico Rivera Library and Rivera Library. We have some great programs coming up in October. Teens and adults are invited to an amazing performance of the play Sama Sama Solidarity in the Fields by East West Players Theater for Youth on Saturday, October 7th at 4 p.m. at the Pico Rivera Library. Written by Giovanni Ortega and directed by Daphne Sicre, Sama Sama is a theatrical production that tells the story of 3 high school students as they discover their cultural heritage by learning about the Manox and the Bracero program. The play incorporates narration, poetry, music, movement, and eskrima to emphasize the shared narratives of Mexican and Filipino culture. It's a trilingual production with English, Spanish, and Tagalog used to amplify this vital piece of history. The performance is free, and it's meant for teens, but adults are welcome to attend. LA County Public Health is hosting a free vaccine clinic at the Rivera Library on Tuesday, October 17th from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. They will be offering flu shots, the updated COVID vaccine, and the Mpox vaccine. The Rivera Library will be closed on Monday, October 9th for Indigenous Peoples' Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Talbot. And now moving on to our agenda. We have consent calendar items 1 through 11, and as well as 12 through 13. And if we can have a motion.
So, second?
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Councilmember Garcia, a second by Councilmember Camacho. And discussion? Have no discussion. Madam City Clerk, can we kindly have roll call, please?
Councilmember Commissioner Dr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Commissioner Garcia? Yes. Councilmember Commissioner Camacho?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice President Lara?
Yes.
Mayor President Lutz?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for that. Now moving on to our regular agenda items, 14 and 15. Item 14, approve a memorandum of understanding with Landify ECT Corporation for park development projects. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Dr. Monica Sanchez, a second by Councilmember Garcia. Discussion? Have no discussion. Madam City Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Dr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Camacho?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Lutz?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for that. Moving on to item 15, unfunded capital improvement projects. And that is a motion.
This is, we do have a report, receive and file, Mayor, if we.
Very good. All right, and we have a Director Negrete with a report. The floor is all yours, Director.
Great, thank you, Mayor, City Council. Tonight, we have a quick overview, a receive and file report on our capital improvement plan. Tonight, we'll give you a quick overview of our ongoing projects completed and also unfunded projects. Again, I'd like to thank the City Council for your continued support as we complete these projects. I want to thank our Public Works staff for working very hard and tireless on these efforts. I also have Director Ugar on the line if there's any other additional questions related to some of our parks projects. Director Negrete.
Thank you. I'm going to tag team at the end. I'm going to ask Assistant City Manager Angelina Garcia to join me up here to talk about some of the numbers at the end. But since we last talked to you in April, we went over a CIP study session. This is kind of a check-in for you to see where we're at in terms of projects that we're working on, projects that we completed last year, and also talk about our needs, ongoing needs for the unfunded. I'm happy to take questions after, too, if you want to take notes here. So again, we have ongoing projects, we have completed projects and unfunded projects. So I won't say who. Somebody asked me on your, up there, how do I look at unfunded projects? What is that? So I asked the person, okay, think of your home. Okay, you have a home project. What do you want to do? They said, I want to do a roof. I know my roof needs to get fixed. After I do my roof, I want to paint my house. I said, you have money for that? I said, yeah. Okay, those are your funded projects. Okay, so what do you want to do after that? Said, I don't know. I said, okay, what does your wife want you to do? Okay, well, she wants me to do landscaping. She wants me to change the windows, right? You have money for that? No. Okay, that's your unfunded. Okay, so think about that as in your house, in your home, you always have things you must do or need to do versus the stuff that you would like to do after, okay, but you don't have the money for. Very similar in the city. Okay, we have needs that we've identified as needs, and then we have other needs that we've identified after, but we don't have money for those. And those are the two lists that we are constantly updating. So let's talk about last year first. We had 53 active projects, allocated of just over $28 million. And I'm not going to go through each of the projects, but they are broken down by the different categories: streets, water, traffic safety, and parks. And we have allocated money to do those. And they're at various stages. They're either in the planning stage, they could be in the design stage, or the construction stage. That's what you normally see is the actual construction phase. And that's really what our residents see, right? They don't see the planning or the design. So in a lot of ways, they think what's the city doing, right? And that's really the constant frustration we hear is until we see it in the field, then we know you're actually doing something. So last year, we actually completed 7 projects in that time, totaling $5.3 million. And really last year was kind of the end stages. The council decided in 2019 to do an assessment of the city and to really focus in on those assessments, on those master plans. And instead of going and charging up the hill with all these projects, let's take a step back, analyze our home, in essence, and categorize what projects need to be done. We're still in the ending stages of those master plans, but during that time, we got a better assessment, and we started to categorize these projects and allocate them. That's what we did at the last budget over in June, as we talked about our CIP projects. Well, our priority projects for this year now in 23-24, in no order, first of all, these are just more of the higher priority ones that we've talked about. And again, in the design, you're talking about the Smith Parks Aquatic Center, the dog park, and the pad. Those are in the design. The council chambers is also in design. Currently out to bid, and actually we did receive the bids, and we're bringing this item to you on October 10th, is to award a contract for both the median projects on Rosemead and the major corridors. If you recall, we came to you a few months ago and rejected the bids and rebid it, and the bids came in lower. And we'll talk about how that was in the next meeting. PFAS in construction at, those are 5 wells, so each of the plants have 2 wells on those sites. We keep getting closer. A lot of regulatory compliance going on there, but it is probably more than 50% in the construction side. The AMI meter installation, if you see those guys Fridays and Saturdays installing the meters, tentatively we're on schedule for end of October, beginning of November to have them all in, except for the large meters, which are for the commercial properties, which will need more coordination with those customers to when we can take them offline. Okay? But for the most part, I think 90% of our meters are residential. End of October, beginning of November, have all that done. Then lastly, the Mines Regional Bikeway Project actually started construction yesterday, on Monday. So you'll start to see now some activity on that street. So just in a long story short, I'm not going to read this whole slide here, but there is a backlog. And we have a backlog too, right? As I just told you, we completed 53, we completed 7. This is a year we're really looking to have a lot more projects completed, okay? But part of that backlog and just general in the industry, in the construction industry, is contractors are busy, right? Now, if they're busy, now they're not going to give you as many bids, or they're also going to give you higher bids because they're busy now, right? And with that said, too, there's a material shortage, right? If there's a material shortage, you have longer delays now on projects, or to get that material is going to cost you more now. So we're seeing that all reflected in our bids, where we're not getting as many bids, and the bids are coming in definitely higher than what we anticipated from, say, normal times. And, that's one industry that really wasn't affected by COVID is construction, didn't stop, right? So it continues to climb too, because what's going on is people, cities, agencies have money, right? We have money to be able to either we saved during COVID, right? The government also gave us money because to put back into the infrastructure. You probably did a good job of saving in general as well. So with all that, you have money to do projects now. So everybody's like that now. So since everybody's doing that now, it's not good for us as the agencies that are trying to get those lower bids because they know there's projects elsewhere. And we're seeing that in our bids. Okay, with that, I will stop there and turn it over to Angelina, who will go in more depth on the unfunded. And after that, we're happy to take questions.
Thank you, Director. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. So as Noya went over all of the projects that are in some type of development stage or construction stage, we have over $200 million in projects scheduled to be completed over the next 5 years. But we still have to turn attention to the list of unfunded projects because they don't go away just because of lack of funding. This is a list that we bring to you every year or every quarter to draw attention to the needs of our various facilities, parks, and infrastructure needs. So these are crafted through master plans, through assessments by our Public Works Department, our Parks Department, and vetted through the City Manager and of course City Council. And it's updated continuously. It provides a set of projects that the council and staff have evaluated and deemed as necessary, either through master plans, requests, or observation. We're very proud of the fact that over the last 3 years, the city has used this comprehensive list to identify the major priorities as funds or grant opportunities become available. And just in these 3 years alone, the city council, staff, city manager have helped secure over $75 million in grants and external funding to provide for these very necessary projects. So now we bring you an updated list of unfunded projects. When we brought it to you in June, we identified $61 million. As you can see, this number has decreased a little bit. And in the next, we have in a couple of slides, we'll show you just the movement in that. Now, while the first 4 categories, as we mentioned, are derived through master plans, they're scheduled out in accordance with what the master plans say. The last 2 facilities and parks projects are evaluated, brought forward by the respective departments and to City Council to evaluate as we go through the budget. We'll show you that more detailed list in the following slide. These have not changed since we last brought them to you in June. We still have several projects here, including, I'll just name off a few. We have 26 and 36 doors for Pico Park, as well as the outdoor gymnasium, the Pico Park roof. We identified golf course security cameras as a need as well. So facilities unfunded is close to $1.9 million. Moving on over to the parks. Parks projects is close to $6.5 million, and it does include the Smith Park Stadium turf replacement, as well as a Salazar Park Phase 1 matching contribution of $2.7 million. Now, as we mentioned before, here's, I know this slide is very busy, but it encompasses all of the efforts made by city staff and council to provide for and fund for very necessary and once unfunded projects, including over $32 million for the aquatic center. Also worth highlighting is the PFAS project, which has brought in close to $16 million in external funds. So this is a slide that we're very proud of because this once unfunded list, we are now at 60% funded status. So this concludes the presentation. We're open to any questions or comments.
Thank you for that. If we can start with Councilmember Garcia and work our way to the right, if you have any items or.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that great presentation on unfunded needs. And I see that you did put the turf, that was, what is it, 1.2? It went up 1.3, another $400,000 where you got a Rancho, AYSO, and the Dons utilizing it. As we know, that is a heavy utilized facility. I'm gonna flip the script here a little bit and just bear with me, Mr. Mayor and my colleagues. I've been on that side of the dais in LA, where you get requests from elected officials, you get requests from commissioners, you get requests from board members to do your job and take care of business and make sure you're meeting goals and deadlines and you're delivering product. At the end of the day, we have our funded list. We approved it in June. If we can just stick to the list and not add to the list, unless somebody wants to wave a magic wand and give us 10 million with no rings or strings, then we'll take a look at that to fund a project. However, I firmly believe with the staff that we have, if we let them stay focused, they'll be able to finish some of these projects in a timely manner. They'll be able to deliver a good quality product and meet some of the goals that we all desire here in the community. I think when we deviate from that and we're pulling them this way to go do research and we're taking them away from accomplishing the goal. That's what I've observed. That's my personal take. So we consider that as we move forward. These are all important, and I support that. I just wanted to share that thought and comment. Thank you.
Councilmember Dr. Sanchez.
Thank you. My question, for instance, I get questions sometimes regarding residential streets. And sometimes people feel there may be a preference of paving one street or region versus another. And I know we've had a presentation in the past regarding the grading of the sidewalks. So if a resident feels that their street needs repair, can they make the request, or how would they go about finding out when their street will plan to be repaired? And this delay, this 8.8-month delay, is also including in our street repairs, correct?
Yes, our street repairs are a little bit more straightforward. So we have a pavement management system. Every 3 years, essentially we drive a van around. It zaps the ground, for lack of anything better. Goes to some computer and it zaps out a number. Okay. And that number then designates how it gets ranked. That's the easy part. Okay. But I'll try to explain this as easy as I can. What we're trying to do with the pavement is you try to get to the streets that aren't the worst ones first, because the worst ones are going to cost you more. So as you see right now, what we're doing a Cape Seal or slurry, which is really a thin asphalt emulsion. If you want to say it's just putting it back oil into the street and making it black from an aesthetic standpoint. Okay, that's a lot cheaper than, say, if I were to grind 4 inches of that street and import 4 inches of asphalt. So what you try to do is say, if you have a ranking, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? 1 being the highest, brand new street, 5 being the worst. If I went after the 5 worst ones, I'd probably only do 2 or 3 streets a year based on cost. So what I try to do is I try to get as many as I can 3s, so I can get those before they become a 4 and a 5 where it's now too costly. And that's where people get upset, right? Because they look at a street next door that is not as in bad a shape, and they say, well, why is the city doing that street when my street is much worse? And then they call me and I say, I agree with you. It's so much worse. Doing your street, it's going to cost 10 times more than it is. I could do that one street to your neighbor, and I could do 50 more streets like that. And that's hard for them to understand, right? Because they're still saying, my street's in worse shape, and nothing's been done. And that's where we're trying to get, where we don't get streets to that point. You want to capture it before. But we did have a backlog, right? If you go 1, 2 years without doing any streets, the street only gets worse. It doesn't get better over time. And then to catch up takes years now to go back and catch up because the cost continues to increase. So I would just tell them to call the engineering department. Now, next year we're going to do another, every 3 years we have to do it. We'll start it again next year, probably in the summertime. We'll rank them, and we end up doing a 5-year list. But we only fund 2. Okay, but we put it on the list, at least so when people call, if it's in the first 2, I can give them a more definitive answer. It's after 3, though, that it becomes problematic. Because then I say it's on the list, but it's not funded. Go back to the unfunded part, right? And then in year 4, we're going to redo it again. So it may deteriorate to the point now where we have to do a more costly rehab, where then it maybe falls off the list altogether because we say, look, it's better to do 20 streets for the price of 1. But I'm happy to take that offline in more detail. That's the simplest version I'll give you in terms of how we go about maintaining the streets.
Thank you. And did we see any additional damage when we had rains, extra rain and this hurricane?
I'm going to steal Councilman Lara's. If you Google Mines Avenue, it looks like a battlefield of all the patchwork that has gone on in those rains. That's what happens is that, when your streets become to that point where it deteriorates, the cars keep pounding over it, and they basically create more potholes. And then we begin chasing. And then we, more detail, but we end up chasing with cold mix instead of hot mix to try to catch up. Cold mix is temporary, and the next rain, it wipes it all out, and then we're back there again. So most definitely, rains get affected.
Thank you. We have faith in you. You'll catch up.
I don't know.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll be very brief. Rio Vista Lights, I thought we had set aside funding for that. There's one small diamond for the smallest of our girls that play fast pitch softball. I was under the understanding that we funded that project, and I don't see it.
Yeah, that is correct.
It's not, those 9 are not all of them,
Okay,
okay? There's many more behind it.
Oh, okay.
Those are
I just-
what I would deem the higher priority.
got it. No, that's fine, and I completely understand that. And I've explained that to the board members there at Rio Vista. Hey, it's going to take some time. I just didn't see it here. I just wanted to make sure.
It is on there, just,
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this till whenever, but it's a capacity issue.
I totally, completely understand. Completely understand. Great.
Thank you.
Councilmember Camacho?
Yeah, no, thank you for the presentation, and I think, as it relates to the street repairs and improvements, the reality, I like your explanation as to it, but the reality with street repairs is we're never going to catch up. And you know that, we know that. The need is so great, and it's not no different than our neighboring cities. That's just the reality of street repairs. So we've street repairs for years. It's a catch-up thing. As you fix one, another one gets repaired. We'll never have enough funding to repair our streets, and it's evident by the list of unfunded pavement management program here. So what is important to highlight is that we're doing more improvements as it relates to other cities and other neighboring cities as well. So the reality, unfortunately, and I like the fact that we're trying to be proactive in fixing the street before they deteriorate. But, let's be clear. The reality is we'll never catch up because we will never have that level of funding to fix all of the streets. And because we have other needs as well. And so we have been fixing our streets. There has been a backlog. But there is obviously, many needs as it relates to street repairs. Mines is a good example of that skeleton, if you will. But the problem with mines, it should have been fixed a long time ago. But because we've had this mines project by project for over 8 years, that we finally are moving forward on, which I think there's some little tweaking that needs to be done based on some commentary from the residents that took place last weekend at a meeting. That is because of that project that road has never been fixed. If not, it should have been fixed a long time ago. As I look at it, and what I feel very proud and what's to come is that we have $208 million in capital improvement projects that most of them have been funded by grants and monies that we sought out, which once again, We've done better than most cities as it relates to these unfunded projects, either through state, federal, county, and our, obviously, as partnership, our representation. So we have a lot coming to the city of Pico Rivera. And based on that approach that we've been able to fund these projects with these grants and our partnerships, these unfunded items here, although many, I do believe that that pattern and that path that we've taken and the partnerships that we have, we will be able to get funding for them as well. Never 100%, because I don't know of any city that has 100% funding, because it doesn't exist. But the reality is, we're doing well, and we're in the right path. So thank you for that presentation.
Just, can I just add one? You're 100% correct. We're always gonna be behind. But I think as a resident and as council, we just want to see progress, right? So I guess I'll say to you, let's not stop. Let's not take a break. Let's not defer that maintenance, because to catch up takes years to catch up. But I think if we can go back to the residents and say, hey, man, we're not going to catch up, but we're trying to. And this is the street these are the streets we're doing now to try to catch up. And I think in the last, I don't know, year and a half, we took a look at it is, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the residents saying you're trying. And I see that the streets are looking better now. Are they all done? No. But it is looking better now than it was before. And I think with this plan we have, in the next 12 months, we can catch up even more.
And to that respect, we'll do what we can in our part, but it's up to you to execute it and make sure that it's delivered timely, within budget, and with the capacity that we have, which is something that we have to look at. I know we ourselves want more and more from you all, but we also have to be realistic, and let's finish what we have. Let's, complete the projects that are already funded and not get too caught up in trying to do more than what we're capable of doing.
Very good. Well, I have to say, Assistant City Manager and Director, thank you very much for the presentation.
Mr. Mayor, before you do, I just have one.
Sure, I'll go ahead and let me finish
Go
here,
ahead,
and then I'll go
please.
ahead and allow you to do some commentary. I do want to say, visually, the city is looking better. With those projects on Whittier Boulevard, on Paramount, on Rosemead, those are certain sections of those major streets where we're doing the Cape Seal and Slurry. It's making the city look better. And when people go through our neighborhoods, they're saying, the ongoing maintenance, which never ends, is being done. And so we're proud to say that we will be on top of things, and we're proud of you taking care of business for us and making the residents and the business owners proud. So we do appreciate that. I did have one item here on the unfunded projects that I did have a bit of concern is where all the items are of construction and betterment of the community, and one item is destruction or the demolition of the batting cages at Rivera Park. And I felt that if we could remove that from the list, being that that actually is a great item for the residents to utilize. It's an unfunded park project, and that is to removal of the batting cages. If I can get a consensus, it's a $600K minimum demo project, but that was projected months ago, and since construction costs or demo costs have increased and dumping fees have increased, I feel that that would be basically a tragic item to add to the unfunded list. I think it's very important to keep batting cages. It keeps our kids sharp when it comes to on the offensive, when it comes to playing baseball. I know I played baseball, and I wish I could have had batting cages when I was playing in RBA. So if I can get consensus in...
Are you saying they're going to remove it from the list?
I'm asking if we can remove from the list of unfunded projects, which is the demolition of the batting cages, if I can get consensus to get that off.
So you're saying we won't be able to pursue it down the line? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to get consensus from the rest of the council to remove from the unfunded list projects, the project of demoing the batting cages.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mayor, if the way that we would get it removed from the unfunded list is to find funding for it, and then that's how we would pay for it. So we need to find a grant or some type of fund.
Exactly.
So what I'm clarifying is, I want to omit the project of demolition. The as my understanding, it's a project to demo batting cages, and the demolition costs $600,000. That's the estimate. We feel that it would be tragic to remove batting cages from our community.
I think that, I mean, I would say, Mayor, I would defer to staff as it relates to that recommendation to remove that, because if I understand correctly, you know, the challenge with these batting cages, because they have been a problem, they don't function properly. And actually, I'll defer to Councilmember Garcia, who is probably the most versed in that park as to what we need to do with that.
Thank you. If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, and the request was brought up by me months ago, and it was brought up to me by the board members at Rivera Baseball Association to look at redoing the batting cages, demoing it, putting nets where you can have batting practice. But we don't want to eliminate the batting cages. It's still utilized there. I would recommend we keep it there and we look at grant funding down the line. It wouldn't be a high priority. There's major higher priorities right now than a batting cage that we need to adhere to. But if there's money that somebody was able to do something, we don't want to eliminate a batting cage. There's usage there. So whatever that's going to look like, we would coordinate with staff and with the local operators to see what best meets the community needs. That would be my recommendation.
Sure, so I understand originally the conversation was about eliminating them because the machinery hadn't been maintained, and hence the solution would be to just eliminate them in its entirety. And I would think, well, how about maintenance? Any machinery require maintenance, and without maintenance, they're going to be faulty. And so hence, there are faulty items in those cages, and I did see them personally. And I did notice that with a little bit of maintenance, tightening of the belts and fastening of those PVC channels, directing the balls up into the machinery would suffice, and the batting cages would work properly. Again, it was, I feel, a lack of maintenance, of a watchful eye. Again, that's coming from personally looking at the machinery myself and identifying the problems with the park staff as they pointed them out to me. So that, in conjunction with demo, I thought that was, well, let's look at options. But now, if we're looking at not demoing it, I think we're fine.
And I think just to move forward, we don't want to demo, maybe more cost-effective to retweak, revamp. So we don't want to take that off the table, whatever's going to be best in terms of finance and dollars and cents.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you. So if I may, Mayor, I think maybe it might be best if you were to take this offline with the Parks and Recs Director along with Councilmember Garcia, and then come back and kind of give us a educated update, and then we go from there. If it means taking it off, by all means, or if it means tweaking it or keeping it. But I think my advice would be to check in with the Parks and Recs Director.
Very good. So I'm glad we have a little bit of clarity here. And with that, let's go ahead and close up the discussion. If we have a motion to approve?
If I may,
Yes.
I would like to make a comment, just a request per se. So certainly all of our priority projects that do have funding, the request is to perhaps expedite the ones that have more of a safety risk. So lighting, for instance, if it involves children's safety, the PFAS treatment, of course, if it's related to public health and safety. To me, that's a priority. So that's something we need to expedite. The dog park is wonderful. The batting cages are wonderful. However, if it's an issue related to our public health and safety, I would like to request that we expedite those, especially if we have funding for that.
Yes, we'll definitely take a look at that, council member. The other thing, we also have grant deadlines too that we have to meet, so we also will factor those in as well.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Last comment on my end. All these unfunded projects, did we tally maintenance and upkeep on each of these projects?
On these existing projects, they have their current maintenance operations, but for newer projects, we haven't calculated that.
Because I know the longer we wait, the cost of materials, labor, it keeps going up. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the previous requests is anytime we bring something new to include the maintenance and operations, which we will do
Absolutely,
moving forward.
absolutely. Thank you.
One last question. So what can we do, Director, to help expedite this or catch up? I mean, I know we're never going to catch up essentially, but what are some things we can do to get materials or get workers to, what are some things that other cities are doing or in order to address these barriers?
Couple things. One, the list is dynamic. But the more we can keep focused, that goes faster, number one. Number two, like when we have those material items, or long lead items, we've looked at purchasing them in advance. So like the PFAS, the vessels, the city bought those in advance so that by the time the contractor got there, it wasn't delaying the project. Another popular one is traffic signals. It used to be 12 to 16 weeks lead time. I think last I checked, they're 28 to 32 weeks lead time now. So we're looking at that as we're in the design. We're asking the designers, asking ourselves, the vendors, what is the lead times on these items so those aren't holding us up when we get there. Yeah, that's probably the main things. The more we can stay focused, I think the faster it can go. And I think on our end, the more we can tell you what's going on, I think that helps too. So I think I've talked to Steve about maybe doing this more, bringing this back to you and having more conversations about where projects are. Because I know you get asked, right? Where are those projects at that you talked about 6 months ago, 9 months ago, right? 8 years ago. And I think that's, as a staff, we can do better at educating where the status of those projects are.
Yeah, Councilmember, it's a number of different issues that have impacted us. Labor shortage, I mean, there's about 500,000 shortage of construction workers throughout the country, so that's a challenge. The supply chain issues are also challenging. When you infused $1 trillion, I think, under the Infrastructure Act that Biden put out there, that's a lot of money in the economy, and so it chases a lot of products and it creates these delays. There was an item in the agenda with trucks that we're purchasing. That only happened because there was a canceled order. Had that not happened, we still would be waiting for many months to get those trucks in.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate all the time and energy you put in that presentation. Thank you again. And we'll go ahead and close up the discussion there and motion on item 15, unfunded capital improvements projects.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Councilmember Camacho, a second by Councilmember Garcia. Addition, discussion? None? All right, let's go ahead and, Madam City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Camacho,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara,
Yes.
Mayor Lutz.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for that, Madam City Clerk and Mr. City Manager. Moving on to staff reports. Do we have any to present today?
None, Mayor.
Very good. And now moving on to good of the order, which is intergovernmental agency meetings, AB 1234, reports, new business and old business. And starting off with Councilmember Camacho, followed by Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Dr. Sanchez, and followed by Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Camacho?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I know our Parks Director is not here, or she's online, okay. No, once again, congratulate her and her team that led the event of the Grito de la Independencia, that we had another event the previous Friday, and of course, it can't be done without the other departments and the entire staff. It's a huge production, but what is another successful event that we bring to the community, so just congratulations and thank you. In addition to that, the only thing I would report, not that is reportable, but I will want to make sure it's mentioned, I did attend a Emergency and Preparedness and Management Summit through NALEO, which was a scholarship that was provided to us. And, you know, it was great to be able to, as much as I've been through some of these management programs before, it's an opportunity for us here, even with staff, to making sure that we're always doing everything we can to be on, you know, as alert as possible. I know we had this, tropical storm that by the time it got to us, but there was a level 1 activated just in case, based on the Whittier Dam project, Whittier Dam itself. but it was great to be able to go through a training to, exercise and refresh, at least for myself. That was enlightening, and I know my colleague, Dr. Monica Sanchez, joined as well, and will be bringing some ideas and suggestions and more work to you guys.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I just want to be very brief. I want to thank Parks and Works Director, Mr. Negrete, and his staff, his engineers that were there. They were at a very difficult meeting that was held in regards to Mines Avenue. It was last Saturday, and there were some residents who had some very strong opinions about how the project would impact them. And I felt that Mr. Negrete and the staff handled it very excellent. They were excellent in regards to handling the residents. I think some of us have been contacted in regards to an email. There was a resident who followed up. And I want to say that staff is looking into it. They're looking into ways in which that project can be modified so that access to those homes along Mines Avenue, is it the south side or what? How the south side, right? Is going to be alleviated. I think that's very important. But I think everyone, at the end of the day, we were just happy Mines Avenue was getting done. Construction started yesterday. It's going to take about 10 months. It's going to finish, we're looking at summer of 2024, the completion of that project. So great, we're looking forward to that. There's something that I just want to keep on my radar, but I want to mention, I think our colleagues at the City of Montebello are doing a good job in addressing mental health. They went into a consortium with a mental health agency that alleviates or makes access to mental health a lot easier. We know that I was just having a conversation with one of the staff members on accessing healthcare can be really difficult and scary when either you have a physical ailment or a mental health crisis. And they've entered into an agreement with the company that's going to allow that access to be a little bit easier for residents who are having mental health crises. I'm going to pay attention. I want to see how the residents access that program. It's about $60,000 or $50,000 for the year, but I want to see if it gets used. And I'd like to come back maybe in about 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, and report back to staff, report back to my colleagues to see if there was usage, and maybe if there was usage, bringing that program to our residents. Parks and Recs, they did an amazing job with the Mexican Independence event, and we actually had lucha libre. That was very nice. That was different. I don't think I've seen like a city put on a lucha libre event. I was there. The residents enjoyed it. It was something very different. I want to thank also, just lastly, the Sheriff's Department. There was a resident who was having, I think, a mental health crisis, and he had contacted me about some crimes that he felt were going on. It was part of some of the issues I think maybe he was going along with, but the sheriffs were very responsive. Our Captain Hutak, was very responsive. I think it was a Friday night or Thursday night I was reaching out to you late, and just thank you for following up on that. Otherwise, I don't think I have any items for AB 1234. Thank you.
Councilmember Dr. Monica Sanchez.
Thank you. I wanted to share that I received a scholarship from NALEO, the National Association of Latino elected officials, and we were able to travel, Councilmember Camacho and I, to a training in Denver. We were there for 3 days to learn. We received a certificate from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on the incident command systems. This was an eye-opening training, given our last, potential hurricane that we didn't quite have became a tropical storm. And so I received a lot of training and information. I feel like I came back with more questions in terms of our city emergency response plan. I know a little bit about the city side. And one of the advantages was that our school board president, El Rancho Unified School Board president, also attended, and we were sitting at the same table. So one item that we discussed was they come up with a comprehensive school safety plan. And she wasn't aware of that plan, nor was she aware of our emergency response plan. The high school is right next door. And so one idea that we had was perhaps we could reconvene our, last year we had a ad hoc school and city ad hoc meeting around the discussion of school safety plan and share our emergency preparedness plan. And it could be related to natural disasters as well as any emergency that comes about in the city. And I have no idea what their plan is. Where are they going to evacuate? Maybe you know our city manager, but we are often the ones that are called by the residents or messaged on Facebook or Instagram or text. So I think it will be useful for us to convene with our sheriff as well as our fire chief. I know they're involved in our emergency response plan, and just to collect information. And another item that we discussed, potentially we need to include is our Rio Hondo College partners. So say, for instance, one of our risks is a breach of the Whittier Narrows Dam. Everything in Pico Rivera, if you evacuate your home and go to Pico Park, that could potentially be flooded. And where are we going to go from there? Potentially higher ground. Possibly we could go to Rio Hondo College gym or something to that nature. So we can need to talk to our college partners, our school partners, and our city. I know they may have a plan, but I would like to know more about our other partners' plans as well as ourselves, so we can prepare. I know you can't prepare for everything, but even we discussed I brought up the cows incident. That's an emergency that we, weren't prepared for. But so there was some damage and some people were injured and it could have been worse. But those are the types of emergencies that we can pool our resources as a community and share with our neighbors. So one thing I'd like to bring up is to possibly reestablish the city school district ad hoc.
Okay.
Do I need a second for that, or?
A second.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had an opportunity to attend the reopening of Top Line Nails. Some of my colleagues here on the dais. If you haven't had a chance to go to that facility on Whittier Boulevard next to the Target, it's just amazing. It's really deceiving from the outside. We've nicknamed it Pico Rivera Hills. Once you do the tour and walk through there, I mean, it's just amazing with all these chairs. It's just they even have a libation section in there where you're getting your feet or your nails done in there. Just a great reopening. Also, Shade Lane Seniors, I had a chance to stop by there and meet with the seniors and take a look at the facility that they're meeting in. So big shout out to Public Works. They are very happy with the facility, a little patience, and they're really enjoying it. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia, I'd like to report AB 1234 reports. I attended the sanitation district meeting this month, and we discussed the manhole covers. And in this district, there's a total of 5,000, and they're going to be revamped, those that need work. Also want to give a big round of applause to all our city staff, Parks and Rec, our Sheriff's Department. The whole idea behind El Grito, which is year 2, I believe, is that correct, Councilmember? Year 2, and I think, looking forward to do many more years ahead. And again, Lucha Libre, I think if we can incorporate the city council to let off a little bit of steam amongst each other.
Mask or no mask?
Depends. That'd be interesting, right? So just a thought, but absolutely a great little addition to El Grito celebration. Again, it's another recreational activity, celebrating Mexican culture, which we do have here, and we have to celebrate all cultures here in our community of Pico Rivera. So looking forward to the upcoming celebrations, which we have spectacular, and the tree lighting when it comes to the later months of this year. And then also, I'd also like to finally close up with reestablishing the ad hoc committee, and if we can have Councilmember Dr. Monica Sanchez and myself on that, So we can notate that. And with that, Mr.
Mayor, if I may, have one more item I forgot.
Yes,
I wanted to remind the residents as well as our council and staff, the Pico Rivera Chamber of Commerce is having a masquerade casino night on Friday, October 27th, from 5 to 11 p.m. Tickets are $50 each. You can purchase those at the chamber office on pass-ins or contact any of the board members. So I promised the board members I would bring this up. So I have a couple of flyers here. And so that should be a fun night. They're going to have a big money raffle, grand prize $3,000, second prize $1,000, all the way down to $250, and the winners do not need to be present to win.
very good. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one last item, too, while we're talking about some last items. Tomorrow, there's a food giveaway that's being sponsored by our supervisor, Janice Hahn. It's going to be at the Pico Rivera Sports Arena between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon. So once again, a food giveaway, free food giveaway, drive-through event tomorrow, Wednesday, 27th, 9 a.m. to 12.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And Mr. City Attorney, if you can take us into closed session.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We have a quick briefing on the Pico Water District versus City of Pico Rivera case under existing litigation.